Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
Okay, this is great. Okay, so it's a close-up portrait of a black cat that has a lot of red in its front fur. I mean, it's not super bright, but in the image, the snap, you can just sort of see the tinge of just a little bit of red in the undercoat. Beautiful black cat wearing a collar. Paws are just kind of ahead. Eyes are perfect kind of green. Sitting on what's probably an outdoor patio cushion. Yeah. So, Melody Horrill, what is this?
This is my my rescue cat, Q.
Okay.
So Q sat by me while I wrote my memoir and was the only one really privy to all of the ups and downs and the emotions while writing that. He actually is. I acknowledged him in the book as something that really helped me get through writing it. But he also became the focus of my very first kids' book, which is a fantasy that I'd always wanted to write as a little girl. And after my memoir was published and we were in lockdown here in Victoria from COVID, I decided to finally write that kids' fantasy.
Nice.
And one of the main characters is based on my rescue cat, Q.
Okay.
And the book is called A Cat Called Q and the Magic Globe.
Nice.
And although it is a fantasy, it is shares the same themes in many ways as my memoir. And that is finding bravery and courage and connecting with animals, nature, and the natural world. It just so happens that this story is fantastical, and the main character, or one of the main characters, is a large black 14-year-old rescue cat who has been by my side while writing. So that book is about to come out in 2 weeks.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So
there you go.
So it was a great juxtaposition. Okay, so first you write a very serious memoir that aims to convey to an adult reader, an adult mind who's seen things. We didn't talk about the content of the book, but that follows your experience in helping, rehabilitating, connecting with this wild dolphin. And you said that going back to those times was very difficult.
It was difficult and joyful.
Okay.
Difficult going back to aspects about my childhood, but joyful going back to when I met Jock and that 3 years I spent with him.
Right. So that's published. And then you shift gears to writing a children's book with a very whimsical idea of... So in the photo, because of the angle, the head seems very large, right? Just because of the angle. So... Oddly enough, I just bought a book called The Master and Margarita, which was written by Mikhail Bulgakov. He's a Russian novelist, and one of his characters is this big cat.
Wow.
Walks around. Yeah.
Hey.
Doing a children's book that's a bit more fantastical is quite a big gear shift from being a journalist and from writing a memoir.
It is. You're right.
Okay. So talk to me about being whimsical. Talk to me about pushing the edge of what's possible in fantasy and being silly and all that stuff.
Well, after writing the memoir, I think the very reason why I decided to finally write this book that, I'd really dreamed up the concept as a kid, really, was because I needed that escape myself.
Right.
Writing the memoir was fantastic and both joyful and, quite difficult, but it was real, it's real. And being able to, and as I said, we're in COVID lockdown. So I guess I felt the time was right to actually attempt. I'd never written a fantasy before, but I'd had this idea brewing in my head since I was a child, really. I always loved fantasy books as a kid. I used to escape into them myself. Could I write one? I don't know. So I gave it a crack, as we'd say here in Australia. And once I started, I just really started enjoying the process.
Nice.
I just had a lot of fun with it. I injected a bit of humour. I drew, the characters are all drawn from people I actually know,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the animal characters are drawn from people I've met along the way. My friend in Adelaide lives in a different state. My lifelong friend, she's a beautiful woman, is an illustrator. She did all the illustrations
Oh,
for me,
nice.
and it was just a lot of fun. And I was able to put a lot of what I'd learnt from my experiences with Jock and growing up into the fantasy book.
Mm-hmm.
The lessons I'd learned without,
Sure.
you know, forcing people to see it as a lesson. That isn't the point. But it's just subtle. So as I said, that reconnection with the natural world, the care of animals, and as the main character of the book is a young girl who gets bullied and she lacks confidence, and it's all about her finding her bravery. So there are many aspects to that fantasy book which are grounded in reality. I loved it. I loved writing it. It was just such a blast.
So was that book one, and now you're gonna start working on book two?
No, book three
Oh
is
wow!
in September this year. My second non-fiction book will be published by an Australian publisher,
Look at you.
and that's called Sheltered. So
Okay.
that's a non-fiction book, but that's I interviewed a whole lot of people about their relationships with their rescue animals,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I've written their stories effectively.
Right.
And once again, it follows a similar theme.
So another thing that you don't know about me is that in just until a little recently, in our house we had a bunch of sheltered animals, like rescue animals, right? So
Yes.
cats and dogs, and there's definitely something to be said for stepping outside of your sort of functional realities of okay having to run a household and doing all the things to say well okay we're going to rescue this particular animal, and each animal has its own character and its own personality and quirks and all this stuff. So you write a so you write a book about rehabilitate your experience about with connecting with a wild dolphin, and then the second book is connected to your rescued cat, domesticated cat, and then another book is kind of collecting the stories from people who've sheltered various animals. Right. Imagine there's a question in there.
You're probably thinking why so erratic, but
Nope.
it certainly wasn't planned that way. I just felt that once I opened my mouth to start saying something while writing my memoir, I haven't been able to shut it up.
Well, it's an impulse, and it's like the creative drive, and it's like there's that little thing that wants expression. Don't shut it up. Like let it sing. I love it. I totally love it. So how many cats and how many dogs do you have in your house?
I only have one cat. Uh,
Oh,
only
you wimp.
Yes, but if I had a different house, I'd definitely have a dog as well.
Sure.
I love all animals, and to be quite frank with you, if I could get a nice big house on a big block of land, I'd probably have lots
Mm.
and lots and lots of animals. But I live close to the city, so it's just not practical and all right for them.
Don't let me give you a hard time. Don't let me give you a hard time.
No. If I had my way, the house would be full of them. Trust me.
Sure.
But over the years, actually, in the final book, Sheltered, which is as I said, due out in September, I start the book by talking about the other rescue animals that have impacted me on my life. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I've shared my life with, and Q is just the latest one. He's lying on the bed over there at the moment, and I've had some remarkable friends, along the way. Apart from a wild solitary dolphin, I've had, cats and dogs who've really actually played a massive part in my life. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah. And also the fact that there are many shelters here in Australia which are going through a really difficult time with with the amount of animals coming in and economic hardships, people unable to keep their animals. So I felt that perhaps by sharing these stories, I could encourage other people to consider adoption.
Right, right. Okay. Well, since you said consider adoption, let's move on to the next photo.
So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.